You know it's going to be one of those days when you're looking for your car keys in your wife's purse, and instead find a hotel key card that definitely wasn't from our anniversary trip last month. Next to it, a receipt from Victoria's Secret for a lingerie, set in a size she's never worn, at least not for me. I'm Austin Rivers, 35, and I design precision components for automotive manufacturing here in the Dallas suburbs. 15 years of engineering has taught me that when something doesn't fit the specifications, you investigate before you make assumptions. My wife, Melissa, works as a marketing coordinator for Pinnacle Healthcare Solutions, a medical device company downtown. She's always been driven, always chasing that next promotion, like her career was a race she was determined to win. Standing in our granite-countered kitchen that Tuesday morning, holding evidence of my wife's extracurricular activities, I felt something cold and methodical settle in my chest. Most guys would storm into their wife's office, make a scene, demand explanations. But 15 years of engineering precision had taught me patience and the value of proper documentation before drawing conclusions. So instead of confronting Melissa, I got scientific about it. That evening, while she soaked in the tub listening to her meditation podcasts, I carefully examined her purse with the thoroughness of a quality control inspection. The hotel keycard was from the Marriott downtown, dated 3 days ago when she'd claimed to be in client meetings until 7 p.m. Room 1247, according to the magnetic strip encoding that any engineer worth his degree could read. The Victoria's Secret receipt showed a purchase of 108 of her items that definitely weren't hanging in our bedroom closet. But the real smoking gun was tucked behind her insurance cards, a small bottle of premium personal lubricant, the expensive kind she'd always claimed was too messy for regular use, and a box of ultra-thin protection that I definitely hadn't purchased. Next to them, 2 small blue pills that looked suspiciously like performance enhancers, though Melissa had always insisted such things were unnatural and unnecessary. "How was your day, honey?" Melissa called from the bathroom, her voice echoing off the tiles. "Same old routine," I replied, watching her face carefully when she emerged wrapped in her favorite terry cloth robe. "Nothing exciting, just reviewing some tolerance specifications for the new transmission housing project." Nothing. She could have won Academy Awards for that performance, nodding sympathetically while internally probably rolling her eyes at her boring engineer husband. Over dinner at our kitchen island, she mentioned working late again tomorrow, big product launch coming up. Bradley Cooper, the regional sales director, wanted the whole marketing team to strategize at that conference facility near the airport. They'd need to review promotional materials and coordinate with the pharmaceutical reps until at least 9 p.m. Bradley Cooper, 6'2", silver-tongued sales director who drove a metallic blue BMW M5 and thought his pharmaceutical connections made him irresistible to married women. I'd met him at Melissa's company Christmas party last December, where he'd spent the entire evening making jokes about engineers being too technical for real-world success. How we overthink everything instead of just making things happen. "You engineers," he'd said, laughing while putting his hand on Melissa's lower back. "Always looking for the perfect solution, when sometimes you just need to close the deal." Melissa had laughed along, agreeing that I sometimes got lost in the details, when what really mattered was big-picture thinking. I'd filed that conversation away in my memory banks, along with the way Cooper's hand lingered just a little too long, and how Melissa's smile seemed just a little too bright. That night, while Melissa slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about her upcoming business meeting, I made my preparations. Modern technology is beautiful when you understand systems integration and data collection protocols. A small GPS tracker from Amazon, the kind used for fleet management, went under her car seat during my morning inspection of her tire pressure. Sometimes the old-fashioned engineering methods work best for gathering baseline data. I also did something that would prove crucial later. I used my engineering access credentials to look up the Marriott's construction blueprints in the city planning database. Built in 2018, standard commercial-grade construction, rooms 1246 and 1247 shared a common wall with minimal sound insulation. Room 1246 would provide adequate acoustic monitoring capabilities if needed. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a GPS location alert. Melissa's car was parked at the Marriott downtown at 2:30 p.m. on a Thursday, during what she'd claimed was a budget review meeting at headquarters. I drove over in my F-150, parked behind a landscaping truck with a clear view of the parking lot, and settled in to wait with the patience of a man who'd spent years watching precision machinery operate according to exact specifications. 25 minutes later, Melissa emerged from the hotel's side entrance, adjusting her hair and smoothing down the navy dress I'd bought her for our 8th anniversary. Her lipstick was slightly smeared, and she was carrying her jacket instead of wearing it. Behind her walked Cooper himself, straightening his tie with the satisfied smirk of a man who just closed a major deal. I watched them embrace by the elevator banks. Not a professional handshake, but the kind of kiss that leaves evidence and destroys marriages. Melissa was wearing the red lingerie set from that Victoria's Secret receipt, visible through her slightly unbuttoned blouse. The same blouse she'd worn to work that morning, claiming she had back-to-back meetings all afternoon. My phone camera captured everything with engineering precision. Timestamps, GPS coordinates. Their faces clear as high-definition documentation. But photos weren't enough for a comprehensive analysis. I needed the complete data set, the full scope of their operational parameters. The following week, I took 3 personal days and established proper surveillance protocols. Nothing dramatic, just a methodical engineer with binoculars, a thermos of coffee, and a notebook for recording observational data. I was studying their operational patterns like I was analyzing a new manufacturing process that needed optimization. Every Tuesday and Thursday, same routine. Melissa would text me about overtime requirements, then meet Cooper at the Marriott downtown. They had it down to a science. Separate arrivals 15 minutes apart, discrete room service orders, coordinated departures with a 20-minute gap. Cooper always arrived first, probably to ensure the room was prepared to his specifications. On Thursday, I called the Marriott's corporate booking line and reserved room 1246 using my engineering consulting credentials. I'll need it for the next several weeks, I told them, for acoustic testing and sound engineering analysis. The room needs to be adjacent to 1247 for comparative measurements. Sometimes technical language opens doors that regular explanations can't. The Marriott might look impressive with its marble lobby and crystal chandeliers, but the walls were thin enough for proper acoustic monitoring. I'd brought a digital voice recorder and a directional microphone, the kind we used for vibration analysis in the factory. Their conversation drifted through the shared wall like they were in the same room. Her husband's completely oblivious, Cooper's voice carried clearly through my recording equipment. Melissa says he spends more time with CAD programs than with her. Poor bastard probably thinks romance is upgrading the home Wi-Fi network. Melissa's laugh was like fingernails on a chalkboard. Austin's sweet, but he's so predictable, methodical to a fault. You know what excitement he brought to our marriage last month? A new smart thermostat that he spent 3 hours programming. What he doesn't know won't hurt him, Cooper chuckled. Besides, technical guys like him never suspect anything. Too logical to understand the emotional complexity of what we have here. Exactly. He sees everything in black and white, specifications and tolerances. He'd never imagine that his wife might need something more sophisticated than his engineering manual approach to everything. That's where they were both catastrophically wrong. For the next hour, I listened to them systematically dismantle my character, my profession, and even my choice in weekend activities. Every insult was another data point in my growing case file. They discussed my boring hobbies, my predictable work schedule, even my preference for documentaries. Over romantic comedies. When they finally left, Cooper strutting like a peacock who just displayed his plumage, Melissa practically glowing with post-affair satisfaction, I knew exactly what needed to be done. They'd underestimated the methodical engineer, assumed that logical thinking meant emotional stupidity. The next phase required precision timing and chemical knowledge that my materials engineering background had provided in abundance. While Melissa was at her Saturday yoga class, claiming she needed mindfulness and inner peace, I carefully opened the lubricant bottle with the surgical precision. My home workshop had better equipment than most laboratories. Precision scales, graduated cylinders, pH testing strips. Half the contents went down the drain, replaced with a mixture I'd been perfecting since my college chemistry days. Brilliant green dye, the industrial-grade kind used in leak detection for automotive systems, mixed with enough capsaicin extract to make grown adults weep like they had been cutting habanero peppers in a windstorm. The beauty of capsaicin is its delayed reaction. Skin absorption takes 15 to 20 minutes, but once it starts, stopping it requires professional medical intervention. The protection got special attention too. Using a precision needle from my engineering toolkit, the same kind we used for hydraulic pressure testing, I created microscopic perforations invisible to casual inspection, but large enough to ensure maximum unreliability. Each perforation was placed with mathematical precision, calculated to compromise structural integrity while maintaining visual appearance. For the performance pills, I carefully replaced them with identical-looking antacids that would have the opposite of the desired effect. A little blue food coloring and some careful reshaping. And they were indistinguishable from the originals. Where Cooper expected enhancement, he'd get digestive distress instead. For maximum impact, I muttered to myself, channeling my inner chemical engineer, while adjusting my workshop's task lighting for optimal precision. Melissa came home from yoga complaining about stomach cramps. "I think I ate something weird at lunch," she groaned, making her third trip to the bathroom in 20 minutes. "Maybe that sushi place downtown isn't as fresh as they claim." "Poor baby," I said, offering her ginger ale and saltine crackers. "Maybe you should take it easy tomorrow. Cancel any evening meetings if you're not feeling well." "I can't," she protested. "Bradley's counting on the marketing team for the pharmaceutical conference preparation. If I'm not there, the whole presentation timeline could fall behind schedule." The next morning, my gym buddy Kevin called with interesting news. Kevin worked part-time security at various hotels around Dallas, supplementing his day job at the shipping company. "Dude, you'll never believe what happened to that pharmaceutical guy, Cooper. Yesterday, had some kind of medical emergency during his client lunch at the country club. Explosive digestive issues right there in the middle of their executive dining room. I nearly choked on my coffee. No way, that sounds horrible. Word is they had to call paramedics. Guy was doubled over, sweating bullets, the whole 9 yards. They're saying it might have been food poisoning, but nobody else at his table got sick. Weird coincidence, right?" "Very strange," I agreed, making a mental note about the antacid substitution's effectiveness. Phase 1 was working like a precision-calibrated machine, but the real test was still coming. 2 weeks later, Melissa came home looking like she'd witnessed a catastrophic system failure. She sat me down at our kitchen island, her hands trembling as she reached for mine, with the desperation of someone whose entire world was about to collapse. "Austin, we need to talk," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the humming of our refrigerator. "Something terrible happened today. Something really, really bad." I felt my heart rate spike, but kept my expression neutral, like an engineer reviewing unexpected test results. "What kind of terrible? Did someone get hurt at work?" "There was an incident at the hotel. Bradley and I were having our strategy session for the pharmaceutical conference, reviewing the presentation materials, and something went catastrophically wrong." "What kind of wrong?" I asked, though I already knew the answer down to the molecular level. Melissa's face crumpled like a failed structural test. "We both ended up in the emergency room. There was some kind of chemical reaction during our meeting. We're both covered in this green substance that won't wash off. And everything burns, Austin. Everything burns like liquid fire." I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from grinning. "Chemical reaction? That's terrifying. Are you seriously injured? Do you need to go back to the hospital?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I already went twice. They gave me prescription cream for the burning sensation, but the green coloring, the doctor said it looks like industrial dye mixed with chemical irritants. They have no idea how to remove it. Bradley thinks someone deliberately sabotaged us. He wants to call the police, maybe hire a private investigator." "Someone sabotaged you?" I asked, mustering all the concern I could manufacture. "But why would anyone want to hurt you and Bradley during a business meeting?" "That's just it. We don't understand it either. The doctor said it appears to be some kind of targeted chemical attack. The dye is permanent grade, the kind used in manufacturing leak detection. And the irritant." She paused, touching her face gingerly. "They said it's capsaicin extract, but concentrated to industrial strength." "That's horrible," I said, noting with professional satisfaction how accurately she'd described my chemical composition. But the worst part is what? Other hotel guests were filming with their phones when we ran out of the room screaming. Bradley says it's already going viral on social media. Something about green lovers caught in chemical mishap is trending on Twitter. The video has been shared thousands of times. That evening, while Melissa soaked in an oatmeal bath, trying to ease the irritation, occasionally groaning about the continued burning sensation, I got a call from Kevin, who'd picked up a security shift at the Marriott that afternoon. "Austin, you've got to hear this," Kevin whispered conspiratorially. "We had the craziest incident at the hotel today. 2 people in room 1247 had some kind of medical emergency. Paramedics said they'd never seen anything like it in 15 years of emergency response." "That sounds absolutely wild," I replied, keeping my voice carefully neutral while watching Melissa through the bathroom doorway. "Here's the kicker. It happened during what was obviously an extramarital affair. Guy's some big-shot pharmaceutical sales director. Woman's married to someone else. Both of them trying to explain to paramedics why they were in a hotel room together, covered head to toe in bright green chemicals, wearing basically nothing but hotel bathrobes. Sounds embarrassing beyond belief. Embarrassing doesn't begin to cover it. Security footage shows them stumbling out of the room, looking like radioactive Christmas trees, screaming about burning sensations in very intimate areas. The woman was crying that her husband was an engineer who would figure out the chemical composition if he saw her. The video's everywhere online. Green Affair Gone Wrong has like 2 million views already on TikTok. I hung up and allowed myself a small smile of professional satisfaction. Phase 2 was exceeding all performance specifications and engineering tolerances. The next morning, Melissa emerged from our bedroom looking like a defeated leprechaun who'd lost a fight with a paint factory. The green dye had settled into her skin overnight, creating a mottled pattern that no amount of concealer could hide. Her eyes were still red and swollen from the capsaicin residue, and she moved gingerly, like every step caused discomfort. "I can't go to work like this," she wailed, staring at herself in our hallway mirror with the horror of someone discovering a critical system failure. "Everyone will see. Everyone will ask questions. The whole office probably knows about the viral video by now." "Maybe you should call in sick," I suggested helpfully. "Tell them you had a severe allergic reaction to something at the hotel conference facility." Bradley already tried that excuse with his team, but someone from his office saw the video and recognized him. His boss called an emergency meeting this morning to discuss inappropriate behavior during company time. My phone rang, the display showing Cooper's name and number. Melissa lunged for it like she was trying to prevent a catastrophic system breach, but I answered first. "Austin, this is Bradley Cooper from Melissa's company. We need to talk immediately. There's been a serious incident involving your wife, and I think you might have some information that could help us understand what happened." "Oh," I replied with carefully calculated innocence. "What kind of incident, Mr. Cooper?" "Someone deliberately sabotaged us yesterday, poisoned us with industrial chemicals. This was a targeted chemical attack, and given your background in engineering and materials science, I have reason to believe you might be involved." Melissa was frantically shaking her head, mouthing, "Don't say anything," with the desperation of someone watching their carefully constructed lies collapse. "That's a serious accusation, Mr. Cooper," I said calmly, employing the same measured tone I used when reviewing engineering specifications with quality control. "Are you saying someone tried to hurt my wife? Because if that's the case, I'd be very interested in helping you identify the perpetrator. Your wife and I were conducting legitimate business yesterday when we were both exposed to some kind of chemical weapon. This was clearly a premeditated assault, and given your technical background in materials engineering, you would certainly have the knowledge and access to create such a sophisticated chemical mixture. Business." I let the word hang in the air like smoke from a failed engine test. "What kind of business requires you to be in a hotel room together during working hours, Mr. Cooper? Because I'm looking at Melissa's company calendar right now, and I don't see any scheduled meetings at the Marriott downtown." Silence on the other end, broken only by Cooper's increasingly labored breathing. Melissa's face went white beneath the green tint, realizing that her carefully constructed cover story was falling apart like a structure under stress testing. "I think you know exactly what I'm talking about," Cooper finally said, his sales training kicking in, too late to save him from the trap he'd walked into. "Actually, I don't," I replied with the cheerful precision of an engineer explaining a simple concept to a confused salesperson. "But I'd be happy to discuss it. Maybe we should meet somewhere public, with witnesses present. I'm sure my attorney would love to hear about the business you've been conducting with my wife. especially since I have some rather interesting documentation that might shed light on your professional relationship. Your attorney? Oh, yes. See, I've been documenting some interesting patterns in Melissa's behavior lately. Unexplained absences, mysterious purchases, hotel receipts, GPS tracking data. I'm sure it's all perfectly innocent, but in situations involving potential chemical attacks, it's important to have proper legal representation and comprehensive evidence. The line went quiet except for Cooper's. Ragged breathing and what sounded like papers rustling in the background, probably him frantically searching for a way out of the corner he'd painted himself into. I'm hanging up now, he said finally, his voice cracking like a poorly manufactured component under pressure. But this isn't over. I have connections in the pharmaceutical industry, and I will find out who did this. No, I agreed calmly. I don't think this is over either. In fact, I think we're just getting to the really interesting part. After I hung up, Melissa stared at me with a mixture of horror and dawning realization, like someone finally understanding that their entire operational framework was fundamentally flawed. You did this, she whispered, her voice barely audible. You knew about us. You planned this whole thing. You're the one who put those chemicals in I put chemicals in what, Melissa? I asked, with the innocent curiosity of an engineer seeking clarification on incomplete specifications. Your work supplies, your business materials, or are you talking about the personal items I found in your purse? The ones sitting next to hotel key cards and lingerie receipts that don't match any purchases we made together? Her face crumpled completely, the remaining fight going out of her like air from a punctured tire. It's not what you think it is, Austin. It's not that simple. Because what I think is that my wife has been conducting a 6-month extramarital affair with her pharmaceutical sales director colleague, lying to my face daily, and using our joint credit card to finance hotel rooms where she can mock my profession and my character with her lover. Austin, please, should we call the Marriott and request their security footage from the past several months? Or maybe examine your phone records for all those work-related text messages you've been exchanging with Mr. Cooper? I have a feeling the data analysis might reveal some interesting patterns. Melissa sank into our kitchen chair like a component that had finally reached its failure point, the green dye making her look like a defeated forest sprite who'd lost a battle with industrial machinery. How long have you known? She asked quietly, her voice carrying the resignation of someone whose entire system had crashed beyond repair. Long enough to develop a comprehensive response strategy using applied chemistry and materials science. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes that matched the chemical irritation on her skin. What happens now? What do you want from me? Now you understand something important, I said, sitting across from her at our kitchen table with the same methodical calm I brought to project debriefings. For months, you and Cooper have been treating me like some oblivious engineering drone, making jokes about my profession, planning your affairs around my work schedule, assuming that my logical thinking meant I was emotionally stupid. Austin, I never meant I'm not finished with my analysis yet. I held up a hand like I was stopping a machine cycle. You used our home as your operational base. You used our bedroom to plan your affairs. You used our joint finances to purchase supplies for your romantic adventures. And through it all, you looked me in the eye every morning and delivered systematic lies with the precision of a malfunctioning sensor. She was crying now, green-tinted tears running down her cheeks like coolant leaking from a damaged system. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so incredibly sorry. This whole thing just happened gradually. Bradley was charming and attentive, and you were always working on projects, and I felt neglected and unappreciated. Stop, I said firmly. Just stop with the excuses and rationalizations. You made hundreds of deliberate choices over 6 months. Every lie, every hotel meeting, every text message, every time you looked me in the eye and fabricated stories about where you'd been and who you'd been with. Those weren't mistakes or accidents. They were calculated decisions. My phone rang again, showing an unknown number. Don't answer it, Melissa pleaded desperately. It's probably Bradley. He's been calling all day, panicking about his reputation and his career prospects. I answered anyway, putting it on speaker so we could both hear the desperation in Cooper's voice. Austin, this is Bradley again. Listen carefully. We need to work something out here. This whole situation has spiraled completely out of control, and I think we can find a mutually beneficial resolution." "You think so?" I replied conversationally, like I was discussing routine engineering specifications. "I'm prepared to offer you substantial financial compensation for your discretion about this entire incident. We can all walk away from this situation quietly, professionally, with no further complications or legal entanglements." Melissa's eyes widened with shock. Even she hadn't expected Cooper to try bribing his way out of their romantic entanglement like it was a failed business transaction. "Financial compensation?" I asked with genuine curiosity. "What kind of numbers are we discussing, Mr. Cooper?" $25,000 cash in exchange for your complete silence about this affair and your agreement not to pursue any legal action related to yesterday's chemical incident." I looked directly at Melissa, whose face had gone white beneath the green tint. Her pharmaceutical sales director lover was trying to purchase his way out of their relationship like she was a liability to be managed rather than a person he cared about. "That's very generous," I said slowly. "But I have a counter-proposal that might work better for everyone involved." "I'm listening," Cooper said eagerly. "You resign from Pinnacle Healthcare immediately, citing personal health issues. You relocate to another state, preferably something far away like Montana or Alaska, and you never contact my wife again, ever, under any circumstances. In return, I don't send my comprehensive documentation to the Texas Board of Pharmaceutical Representatives, your company's Human Resources Department, or the viral video to every major social media platform with your full name attached." Silence on the line, broken only by Cooper's increasingly panicked breathing. "You're blackmailing me," Patterson said finally, his voice cracking. "I'm offering you choices, Mr. Cooper, the same kind of choices you offered me when you decided to seduce my wife and mock my profession in hotel rooms. The difference is that I'm being completely transparent about the consequences of each option. This is extortion. This is illegal. No, this is applied engineering principles. You created a system with inherent flaws and instabilities. I simply identified the weak points and applied targeted pressure until the system failed according to predictable parameters. You can accept my proposed solution, or you can explain to your industry colleagues why you're featured in a viral video titled "Pharmaceutical Sales Director Gets Green with Envy." The line went dead with the finality of a system shutdown. Melissa stared at me with something approaching awe mixed with terror. "I never knew you could be so methodical, so calculating, so ruthless." "You're absolutely right," I agreed. "You didn't know me at all. You knew the version of me that paid the bills, fixed the computer problems, and pretended not to notice when you came home wearing another man's cologne and making excuses about overtime. That's not fair, Austin. What's not fair is spending 6 months being systematically deceived and humiliated by the two people I trusted most. What's not fair is working overtime to pay for hotel rooms where my wife mocked our marriage. What's not fair is discovering that my life partner was counting the hours until she could escape to her pharmaceutical sales director lover." The divorce papers were filed the following Monday morning. Melissa didn't contest anything. She couldn't afford legal representation, and she had no moral or legal ground to stand on. I kept the house, the savings account, both vehicles, and all the engineering equipment in my workshop. She kept her student loans, the credit card debt from her affair supplies, and the slowly fading green tint that served as a daily reminder of her choices. Cooper resigned from Pinnacle Healthcare within the week, citing personal health complications requiring immediate relocation. Word around the Dallas business community was that his reputation in the pharmaceutical industry was permanently damaged. Nobody wanted to hire the sales director who'd become a viral sensation for extramarital chemical mishaps. 6 months later, I was sitting at Murphy's Sports Bar with Kevin, watching Monday Night Football and enjoying the first genuinely peaceful evening I'd experienced in years. Ever. "Wonder what happened to that Cooper character?" Kevin asked, nursing his beer and watching the Cowboys drive toward the end zone. "Not particularly," I replied honestly, more focused on the game than on my former adversaries. "Heard through the hotel security network that he's selling life insurance in Phoenix now. Quite a professional come-down from regional pharmaceutical sales director. And Melissa? What about her? Word is, she's working at that call center outside Arlington, living in some apartment complex with paper-thin walls and neighbors who blast music until 3 a.m. Quite a change from this suburban lifestyle. I shrugged, filing that information away, but not really caring about their current situations. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Austin, this is Melissa. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know something important. I realize now what I lost when I lost you. Bradley was never going to choose me over his career advancement. I threw away 8 years of marriage for 6 months of lies and fantasy. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what I had, what I destroyed through my choices. I hope you find someone who appreciates you the way I should have. I deleted the message without responding or giving it further consideration. Some guys hire private investigators when they want revenge. Some go for dramatic confrontations or public scenes. Some key cars or spread malicious gossip. Me? I prefer a more systematic approach. A little applied chemistry, a lot of patience, and the understanding that the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's engineering situations where they destroy themselves while you document the process with scientific precision. I finished my beer, paid my tab, and walked out into the cool Texas evening. Behind me, Murphy's buzzed with Monday Night Football commentary and friendly conversation. Life continuing as it always does, following predictable patterns and reliable systems. Tomorrow might bring another message from Melissa or news about Cooper's continuing professional decline. There might be more drama, more attempts to drag me back into their chaotic emotional dysfunction. But tonight, I was completely free. Free from their lies, their manipulation, their toxic relationship dynamics. Free to build a life based on honesty, precision, and reliable engineering principles instead of deception and emotional instability. I drove home to my quiet house where nobody was lying to me, where nobody was planning betrayals over breakfast, where I could sleep peacefully without wondering where my spouse really was or who they were really with. Some people might argue that I went too far, that turning someone green and destroying their career was excessive punishment for a simple extramarital affair. But those people didn't spend months being systematically deceived and humiliated. They didn't discover evidence of betrayal while looking for car keys. They didn't hear their spouse laughing about their professional inadequacies with their lover. I gave Melissa and Cooper exactly what they gave me, a comprehensive education in consequences. The only difference was that mine came with a brilliant green coating for enhanced visibility and long-term retention. And honestly, I haven't lost a single minute of sleep over it. The best part is that every time someone in the Dallas suburbs sees bright green paint, food coloring, or St. Patrick's Day decorations, they remember the green affair incident and chuckle about it. Melissa and Cooper became a cautionary tale, a reminder that in connected communities, secrets don't stay secret for long and actions have consequences that extend far beyond the immediate participants. Meanwhile, I've got my house, my peace of mind, my engineering workshop, and a reputation as the methodical engineer who turned adultery into viral performance art. Not everyone gets to become a local legend for their divorce story. Some people settle for emotional closure and moving on with their lives. I went for applied chemistry and systematic justice. And let me tell you, Brilliant Green was exactly the right choice for this particular engineering problem.